Hello, everyone. My name is Tatiana Webb, and this is Off the Record, brought to you by Nana Music Productions. Today, we have a very special guest and a dear friend of mine, Mr. LáRoy Bodiford. So, hello, how are you this morning?
Fine, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Been running around with taking a preschooler to school, so that was a whole thing. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fun times.
yes. But this morning, we are going to be talking about the importance of improv and just live performance. So, Leroy and I, we go way back. I think, what was that? We were in 2013, 2014. We were in a sound engineering class together, and we just kept cutting up between, lessons and stuff. And so, we developed a good friendship there. And then what was it? It was a couple years later after that, like maybe three or four, where we ended up meeting again with the Jazz Federation with like just live performances with the Alabama Jazz and Blues Federation. So we got to get connected or reconnected then. And since then, we've kind of been like stuck to the hip as far as just, whenever we see each other in live performances, like he's my big brother at this point. So
Absolutely.
he takes care of me. But because of that, I wanted to get him on the show because he has just, an amazing talent of performing and be able to. He performs on the saxophone. And what other instruments do you perform?
Oh, well, I hate to say perform because I've been studying clarinet and flute and been trying to study a little bit of keyboard and bass,
Yeah.
but not to the point where I'm like performing out in public. I ain't ready for that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's more so I said perform because we see you out on the stage with your tenor saxophone and your alto sax.
hmm
I think you also performed with your melodica at a recent.
Oh, the iwi. It's an electronic wind instrument.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Mhm.
So you are really great at woodwinds and stuff like that on stage, but anyway, because of that, he I wanted to get him on the show because every time that I come to see him perform, he blows the whole audience away. Like when I tell you, it is always a joy listening to him perform. It's just you have to come check out a Leroy Bodford show.
Oh wow, you're so nice.
Well, I'm telling the truth. I've told you several times. If you'll let me tour you, I will. Um, but anyway, so let's talk a little bit about how you got into music, because again, you have this great gift, great talent that you have refined and you've been studying, and you've been working to get better with. But how did you get started with the music industry or music
Mm.
and performance?
Well, it's crazy because I grew up I grew up in the country, right? Like in a little rural area. Didn't have a lot to do. But I always like used to back in the day I used to hear a lot of commercials that had really good music. Like just commercials, TV shows, like theme songs and stuff. So I always had those melodies in my head. This is way before I even thought about playing anything. But I just noticed I would always remember these melodies. And so I was a young kid, but I saw this movie called Mo Better Blues by Spike Lee. And I was just taken, just, I don't know, kind of smitten by the character of Shadow, the tenor player, the saxophone player, played by Wesley Snipes. Me being a dark skinned guy, I was like, oh, no, no, one for the dark skinned brothers. But anyway, I really thought a lot about that sound when I heard that tenor, which come to find out it was actually Branford Marsalis
Mm.
who was actually playing the tenor, the saxophone on the movie. But anyway, so I always noticed the saxophone kind of would grab my attention. Like I remember listening to Rick James' Super Freak.
Mhm.
And I was cool with the song. I love the song, but it's like the thing that stuck out was the saxophone solo at the end.
Yeah.
Or, I would always stay up and watch Saturday Night Live.
Mhm.
The thing that stuck out was the saxophone player that's playing real high, or I would listen to I would watch Johnny Carson. I'm a little kid now, but I'm just loving Johnny Carson and that whole thing.
Mhm.
But the band he had was what just so, you know, fast forward a couple of years, I started playing saxophone in, I want to say it was the fifth grade.
Mhm.
And I was horrible, absolutely terrible.
Goes to show with
I,
everybody.
huh?
I think that's how it goes with everybody starting off.
Well, no, I'm like, honestly, looking back, I didn't get it. Like, I remember like trying to get some of my friends or classmates to help me with fingerings and stuff. I just couldn't. I don't know. It was like that whole first year, fifth grade. I don't know. I just didn't understand. But I started like, so I had my books. We had the books that we would use in school, but I would actually close the book and turn the radio on
Mm.
when I'm at the house, and I would just try and figure out what I was hearing.
Mhm.
So it kind of started that way. I was literally like transcribing like things that I heard before I even knew what transcribing was. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all started. Like I just fell in love with that sound, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, what I'm hearing is there was a calling from a young age. It's like it whatever you did, it was just the music always gravitated back to what you were interested in. And so then you were like, I've got to go find that. And so of course, starting out when you mentioned trying to transcribe the music instead of looking at the sheet music in the books, that reminds me of how I started too, because I would listen to the radio and I tried to figure out how to emulate certain things that vocalists did. And
Mhm.
did I understand what was happening? No. But, I was getting the words wrong and I was getting the melodies similar. So that's when my parents threw us into vocal lessons and stuff because growing up, we did Broadway auditions and different things like that. So, and that was about like 8 or 9 years old there.
Mm.
So, but because you were trying to learn through hearing it, that resonates for me because that's how I had to do it to connect with the music at first. And that's where my love of music started coming in because I was like, okay, I sound good, but I don't know what I'm doing.
Hmm. I mean, that's the beauty of it, though. It's like it's not about music. Isn't It's not about sight, and a lot of people now, I feel, especially with popular music and things, people are only like they don't say I'm going to hear an artist. Or I'm going to see. I'm going to see this person perform. I'm going to see. I'm like, well, what about what you hear? What about the fact that you're actually going to hear something? It's all about what you see, though. But I mean, it's crazy. Like as young people, we both were just dealing with the sound. It had nothing to do with the flash and the lights and everything. It was just the sound, and that's so. It's like the innocence of that true love, like the true love of music.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think as people grow up, they kind of lose it. And I want to always have it.
Yeah. I agree because again, that sound is what makes it's that feeling that gets attached. Because like whenever you hear something and you get those goosebumps and it's like
Hmm.
those chills come over you, that sometimes I mean yes, it does happen when you watch things like movies and things like that, but more times than not, it's going to be because of an audible sensation that has happened and that has resonated with you enough to emote that actual physical sensation on your body. So it's more than just the sound of it. It becomes part of you, and it's like, oh my gosh, more of that. But we can talk about that all day. But so I want to get back to, so you studied once you finally got to actually reading sheet music and actually getting into the theory of music and everything, you started performing, and you have been performing ever since, right? Or is that basically, am I summarizing that in a quick way?
Yeah, I mean, I started, let's see. So my mom used to make me play at church, right? She used to make me play like, and this is before I even really knew anything. I remember playing hot cross buns
Me too.
in church because mama said, "You gonna play a solo in church. This hot cross buns, don't nobody want to hear." But I played it, you know. So she would always get me up in front of people and have me playing. And so um I think the first time I actually joined a group, it was a quartet, like a male, it was a men's quartet group, gospel group. And the guy that instead of like me and a friend of mine, we were both like in high school still. And this guy would pay us in hamburgers. Yeah.
Said, you know.
I mean, I'm gonna say less about that because this guy's he's a good dude, but yeah, but so that was some of my first experience. But when I really started, performing, um, I went when I so I graduated high school in 1997, and I moved up to Huntsville, Alabama, to when I was going to Alabama A&M, and that's when I met Norris and Norris Jones, who was actually on. He was just getting done with a tour with Aaliyah at the time.
Oh, you know,
Huh?
just casually getting off tour with a lead.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it was crazy. I meet, as soon as I leave home, I meet like I met Norris Jones, Kelvin Wooten, all these great guys, people, players that I look up to as, my older brothers and like mentors. You know what I mean? And so I was able to play out. I mean, I honestly hated the experience that I got at Alabama A&M. You know. But outside of the school, I was able to meet some of the baddest musicians I've ever known that lives in Huntsville, Alabama, And I just carried that through. Like I left A&M. I was only there for a year, and then I joined the Marine Corps. And so joining the Marine Corps, that obviously moved me away further. I was in the Carolinas for a little while. But my main uh, tour of duty, I was at Quantico, Virginia.
Okay.
So now Quantico, Virginia is, for folks that don't know, Quantico, Virginia is the northern part of Virginia. It's kind of close to the DC, Maryland area. So I was I was in Springfield, Virginia, playing through like it was at a place called Mars Music. You remember? You probably don't remember Mars Music. Big old music store. It was like the Guitar Center
Okay.
a band. But anyway, I was there playing through some mouthpieces and stuff, and this guy heard me in there, and he put me in the first, like one of my first main groups. Like it was a go-go band.
Mhm.
Remember I said DC,
Yeah.
Washington DC, which go-go is the sound of DC. I was able to get into a go-go band, and I got into a top 40 group also.
Okay.
So I was a Marine, but I was, it's like during the day I was a Marine, but at night and on the weekends, you know, I'm a musician. And so I did that for a good while, and I came back to Alabama, moved to Huntsville, and started a band with me and Norris and Joseph Stallworth, Myron Foster, all of us, Amari Williams. We started a band called Off the Chain. This was back in like 2002. Yeah. So, and we're still, you know,
Oh,
still together after all these years. But I've, been all over the country with my saxophone. You know.
and my goodness, you need to continue doing that because I'm telling you again, I cannot reiterate this enough. You are amazing on the saxophone and an amazing performer and funny as hell and it's funny watching you on the stage and watching you navigate with your musicians on stage, especially when they when you have some people sitting in and they're not playing the right notes. Like, all right, hold on 1 second, we're gonna do this right. So you make sure you take care of your people and make sure that the audience gets uh the right version of the song. And
Can I speak on that? So you were there at that performance, right? We were playing Spain, and so everybody plays their own different version of Spain. We all agree to that. But that night, I honestly was the one. So the trumpet player, Brian, he was actually right. We were wrong. And
oh,
I said, yeah, and I said that on the microphone. I was like, wait a minute. Because after a while, I was like, wait a minute. He was like, yeah. He said, I think we had it backwards. Like the way we were trying to do it, I was like, you know what? And so I was like, I announced on the microphone, like, hey, he was right, we were wrong. But I don't think anybody even was paying attention to that at the time. Like,
look, my sole purpose was to come and listen to you guys perform, and I didn't even hear that part.
yeah, man. Yeah, I don't even know how I got that mixed up. But everybody that knows Spain, it's easy to mess that song up if like I said, we didn't have rehearsal.
Oh
Like a
no.
lot of times when I'm playing at that place, that particular place, Piccolo, in Auburn, Alabama, we never have a rehearsal. What happens is I'll put a band together, like especially if it's my night and we're featuring me and my other friends or whatever. I'll put a band together. I'll send a set list out, and we come together that night and play.
So let's talk a little deeper about that. So, okay, so you are in a position where you're performing with your musicians and you have a set list of songs that you are say like, hey, these are the songs that I know, these are the songs that we do well together, we've performed them several times. And because of that, you do a lot of different genres and styles, but you do your performances in a way where you're able to feature individuals, and it's kind of like jazz round kind of style. And so
Hmm.
with that, there's the importance of improvisation with that, because if you don't, first of all, you've got to know the music, you got to know the pattern and the structure of the song, so that way you don't overstep, or you know when to flourish, when you need to do XYZ. So now getting into our main topic of improvisation and like live performance and such, can you talk about why that's important with, these kind of performances, or even just in a general sense of why improv and the theory of knowing your scales and music and everything so you can improv. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh
And
yeah. As much as the little that I do know, um, but I think it all comes down to studying jazz, right? So a lot of musicians, especially if they only play in church, they only have some of them, they only have one way of thinking about things. And so jazz, if you're studying the music we call jazz, there's a structure to every song. You're gonna play the melody, Whether you play it once or twice the first time, you're gonna play the melody through, and then you're gonna allow people to express themselves through improvisation. Then at the end of all of that, you're gonna play the melody again. So it's like you know, the introduction, the body, the blah blah,
Like the
and
book.
that's the structure.
Mhm.
Huh?
It's like the bookend. It's like the cover and the ending, but what's in between, that's you got to read it to find out.
Right. So that it honestly depends on the song. It depends on who really wants to play, who wants to take a solo, or who wants to improvise. Um, I like to share the love around, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it would be foolish of me to not want to feature the people that I got up there. You know what I'm saying? But I know I played with some people, some somewhat big name artists in the smooth jazz world. If you get too much shine, they gonna get pissed off.
Oh,
Yeah, right. I mean, but I don't think that's the way that's supposed to be.
yeah.
You get too much attention, like you get the spotlight on you, taking the spotlight away from them. They get offended. But I'm like, well, no, if we're all up here sounding good, we all winning. You know. So, but getting back to improvisation, I mean, it's so that's such a loaded subject because you first need to obviously know the melody of any song that you're trying to improvise. You need to understand the chords. You need to understand the harmony. You know what I mean? And you need to understand the scales that go with those chords. So, and I mean, I guess I'm saying that this is all in my opinion. I could be wrong. I mean, there's thousands of ways of doing one thing, right? But I think the common thread of this is, being familiar and educating oneself with the structure of the song, the chords, the harmony. And because you can't really play a song. It's like if you don't know the harmony of a song, you don't know what the chords are doing behind you, how can you play over those chords
Right.
accurately? You know what I mean? You're gonna be up there sounding crazy. So, if you got a B flat seven, you need to know what to play over that B flat seven. And so the fun part of what we're doing, we get to perform, but the people don't talk about the rehearsal and the practice individually that we have to do to get ready for these performances. So yeah, that's the big I think that's the main takeaway. Is like every day I'm working on something,
Yeah.
you know.
Piggybacking on what you're saying, because you said a lot of really good stuff right there. Because first of all, the core part is, you need to understand first your scales. You need to understand the pattern of what the scales feel like under your fingers or vocally or whatever however you're performing. And so because of that, then you can get to the actual songs where the structure is. One of the questions I was going to ask was, how do you know where to go, or how do you know how you want to improvise a line or a solo when you're doing it? But you kind of was you were touching it right there with your answer, which is you got to know the structure, and you've got to know the roots of how to improvise that song through the theory, through studying jazz, things like that, that you can pull references from. I think one thing that's really fun is when, especially when I think Norris does it the most out of the group of you, but he'll start playing music like like references that everybody knows, like Chris,
Hmm.
things like that, and he'll do little riffs because he's now taking that back catalog library of songs that he knows, and he's like, oh, I'm going to play something that connects with my audience, that engages them in what I'm doing. And now it shows how impressive I actually am with the performance. And it may not be a conscious thing that he's doing there, but it's something where he's now able to connect with the audience. And now when they hear it, it was like, oh, I recognize that. And now there's a connection between him and that listener. And you do the same where you will pull melodies and stuff, but you like to have fun with it too, where you like to show your depth and breadth of how you can stretch the your instrument. So you'll go all the way down to the lows and you'll be in that area, but then you like to take your tenor, and it is amazing how you do it, but you take it to the stratosphere and show how far this instrument can go because I'm controlling the instrument. And it shows your skill set and how you can, it kind of like an accordion, you can stretch it out as far and as wide as it needs to be able to get to the point of, this is what I'm doing with the melody or doing with my solo. And then, so now that you stretched the music or your solo out, now you get to play around and dance in places, and then sometimes you'll just sit on one note, and I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, I hear what you're doing. You're emphasizing, you're kind of making it's kind of like a stomping moment. It's just like, hey, this is where I'm at right now, and you need to hear where I'm at right now. And the way that you it's funny how people in the audience don't know what you're doing, like theory wise, or even just like where you're going to go. But you have the way you perform it, it keeps everyone engaged. And I'm not going to name any names because that'd be disrespectful, but there are some improvs that you can just sit there and drink your drink and talk to your people and just, listen in the background. Like
Mhm.
there are some that, they are great, they perform well, but it's not that engaging where you're anticipating or you're eager to listen to that person perform. And that's why I'm saying with you, you have a gift of, and you've refined this gift because you woodshedded all of those rehearsals and you woodshedded your instrument so that you can stretch it or that you can pull references and stuff. And it's really this artistic moment where you are creating this masterpiece in front of us with a audible canvas. And so
Mhm.
it's pretty cool how you're doing that on the stage, and we get to have that experience because we're not going to hear that ever again. And that's why improv is so, to me, so important because yes, listening to a song, you can listen to the song on the radio, you can listen to it on Spotify, you can listen to that anywhere. Why does a person buy a ticket? Why does a person drive an hour and a half to come see you perform, listen to you perform? But it's like, what are they gaining by being in the room with you? And I believe it's that experience and being able to connect with you because you are now going to make it your own, and you're going to basically like lead them down the path of why, because now you've taken this song that they know or they don't know, and now you connected it with them, and now they get to leave back with like, wow, that was amazing. Oh my God, I've got to go listen to him again. Or, like now you've got your following, your supporters. So for an emerging artist, for someone who is trying to get on stage and trying to find their way, especially if you're an instrumentalist, yes, of course, vocalist, because, we can sing and you can connect by just words. But especially as an instrumentalist, it is important that you practice, but you practice good habits.
Mhm.
Practice good technique, because if you practice and you say, yeah, I practiced, but you didn't, you're just doing the same thing over and over again, okay, you're just repeating the same bad habits. So that's why the woodshedding analogy is important, because you've got to chip away all of those things that are bad habits and bad behavior, so that way when you do perform, you can, you already have that refined skill, or the refined yeah, skill behind it. So then you're able to pull all those references and it connects and it sounds good. Because you can pull references, but it can sound bad, and that's a whole other story. So, but you got me on my soapbox about this because I'm passionate about performance, especially with like my musicians and with my artists, because you know that's why I say you have to craft your show and you have to, like, for example, for you, you don't rehearse with your band. You have your band rehearse individually, but you don't rehearse with your band, but you already have established a structure where you are able to basically replicate it anywhere you go. And especially if you have your core people in that band, you can replicate it anywhere. So you technically have rehearsed it, but now you are able to refine it and make it a masterpiece each time and make it different each time. And that's why the improv is important because that helps with that individual performance opportunity for each person that listens. So, um, okay. So, anyway, I get into it, but I do have a question, and you were kind of touching on it, but I want to ask the question. Um, what is your if you were to give your piece of advice, and it doesn't have to be to improv, but your biggest piece of advice for an instrumentalist, musician, performer, whatever, what would be your biggest advice for them when it comes down to performance and coming into live gigs and and those kind of things? Like, what would be your top advice?
Um, I think as artists, musicians, we all should be very intentional. You know what I mean? And I'm saying in every aspect of what you're doing, like you know, I got this book right here. It's nothing but scales and the uses of them. You know what I mean? I got all kinds of books and stuff, but I listen, you know, um, that's the main thing. I think as an instrumentalist, you have to listen. Because it's like, and you got those people, they say, oh, I want to be original. Well, you're gonna be original because you can't perfectly duplicate anything or anyone. So, but for anyone to play this music, you have to go back and research what was done before. You know what I mean? With intention, like you need to be intentionally studying. Um, I think that's the main thing for me. It's like I'm intentionally always trying to study something, and because I've been playing a long time, and I still feel like I don't know much. You know what I mean? It's so much. We're dealing with 12 notes, but man, that's the beauty of what we're doing. The music is so beautiful, and it's like it's simple, but it's so difficult because it's like everything hasn't been done already, and so you can't just assume that, um, when you're playing, and I think that was the main thing that I'm trying to do on any given night, even when I'm practicing, when I'm just here by myself, I'm trying. If somebody's hearing it, I'm trying to get a feeling. You know what I mean? I want people remember how you make them feel more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to do at all times, especially when I'm in front of somebody with my horn or whatever when I'm playing. I want them to feel something. Now they could feel bad or good, but I want them to feel something. That's up to them to interpret what they feel. You know.
Mm. No, that's great. I mean, again, we can get real deep in conversation. I mean, shoot, we've closed out parking lots the way that we've talked before with just, music and the topics of like just performance and stuff. And so, I do to have you back on the podcast at some point, and this will be after we have you tour the nation and everything, and have you on everything. But no, uh, but if anyone wanted to find you or to book you for a performance, because you do weddings, you do corporate events, you do, of course, like the jazz clubs and stuff. But we're also going to be working on some concert series with you soon. So listeners and followers, if you are interested in hearing him perform, just know that we're going to be booking him for a few awesome opportunities soon. But if anyone was to follow you or find you, how could we find you?
Follow me on, check me out on Facebook, LáRoy Bodiford. That's LaRoy Bodiford. I'm also on Instagram. It's Bodiford Arts on Instagram now. And that's about it. I think I'm on Threads, but I don't really. I'm on Threads and TikTok, but I don't really, I'm not very active on those.
If, yeah. If you find him on Facebook or Instagram and you happen to find his threads and TikTok, then awesome. But
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook, and we won't. I won't. All I'll say is this: we hadn't even touched the fact that you are a graphite artist and do the canvases and you know the vision. So so point being, this man is multi-talented and just a great person to get connected with. Um,
Thank you.
but if you want to see more about how to get in the industry and to learn more about the industry, follow us at Nana Music _ off the record, and myself at Tati at actually at web.tatiana TATYANAM. And just remember, this podcast was off the record.